Why did God create the forbidden fruit, or like just in general the forbidden fruit dilemma? Because I mean, we think about God as omnipresent and omnipotent. So why did he create the dilemma?
Faith must be tested, and so must love. I don't know if you ever were in a situation where a girl said to you, I love you, and you had to ask, well, do you really love me, or you just want to get something out of me? Love must be tested. Is this real love, or is this fake love? Is this a genuine, authentic caring for me, or do you want to just use me, manipulate me, and get something out of me? Love must be tested. Faith must be tested. We're going through severe tests right now. And we see this test from the very beginning in the garden, where the God planted all the trees. You can eat from all the trees, but do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When you eat from that tree, you shall surely die on that day. So when Eve and Adam ate from that tree, they didn't die that day. In fact, Adam lived for 930 years. But there was something in them that died. This original grace was lost because of original sin. This choice to not put their trust in God, but to believe in the liar, the serpent. Did God really say that? As if you really can't trust what God's saying. He doesn't have your best interest in mind. He has an alternative motive. Therefore, you can't trust God. God's not good all the time. And because of that trust in God died in their hearts. They ate from this forbidden fruit. And what died was their mind, their heart, and their body. Instead of having an enlightened mind, they had a darkened reason. And we can have that stinky thinking of the doubt, the despair, the depression, discouragement, all the darkness in our mind, the hardened heart full of pride and arrogance and conceit, and refusing to forgive, that pride and self-righteousness. And then finally, the fallen flesh concupiscence. We have this tendency towards sin. Why did God plant this then, this tree of knowledge of good and evil, knowing that if we ate from it, we would die on that day? But what kind of love is that? Good question. And again, we have every right to ask and seek and knock. And this is truly a great mystery. It's the mystery of love. It's the mystery of free will. It's the mystery of lines in the road. You know, when you go driving and you get your driver's license, it's like, okay, if you obey the lines in the road, then you'll be fine. But if you break the lines in the road, like on this highway here, I-10, you'll get in a car crash. So you must be obedient to the lines. This is the great paradox of freedom, that there's no freedom without obedience. That true freedom to love, requires obedience. Obedient to what is good, obedient to what is true. And who is good, who is true, who is beautiful, but God alone. And so we are called to obey God. And this is where we find our freedom is brought to fulfillment. And for freedom to be brought to fulfillment, it must be tested. Do you choose to trust me or not? That's the whole mystery of free will. And therefore, we have a choice. We can obey the lines in the road, or we can choose to break them. And when we do, there's consequences. We can stick our hand in fire, and if we do, we'll get burned. That's not God's fault. That's our bad choices that we've made. And again, that's the great mystery of free will, but it's necessary to love. Bringing love to fulfillment means we must learn to be obedient to God. And that's what Jesus does. He overcomes original sin, and certainly in the garden, not the Garden of Eden, but the Garden of Gethsemane, where he says, take this cup of suffering away from me, not my will though, Father, thy will be done. And to the very end, Jesus was obedient, and on the tree of life, the cross, he cried out, it is finished. It is fulfilled. He fulfilled in complete obedience to the will of God. And that's the way to eat from the tree of life, eternal life, heaven, the fulfillment, eternal love, eternal joy, eternal peace, eternal life. Okay, means that we must be obedient. That's where our freedom will be fulfilled.
You're talking about free will and love, and how they're so interrelated and almost kind of interdependent on each other in some way, because like you're saying, like we can't really have true love without free will. And so in that sense, that, I mean, yeah, with the forbidden fruit, we chose as human beings, Adam and Eve chose as human beings, and then it went on to us to not follow God's one commandment, and that led to all evil that exists now.